welcome everyone back to the Pathways to Success. I'm very excited about the guest we have on the show today. I have elite athlete, cancer survivor, and of course the author of The Winning Mindset That Saved My Life, Tom Hulsey. Tom, welcome to the podcast. How are you?
Glad to be here. Thank you, Julian.
It's a long time coming, and thank you for your patience for getting on the podcast. Life has been crazy since I started this journey, so thank you very much for that.
It's an honor.
Yeah. So how have things been?
Things are going very well. I have really been positively impacting people's lives and creating awareness, especially for men's health issues, and it's just very gratifying that I'm able to leverage my journey, if you will, to help others.
So let's start with that. You have an incredible story that I think you can share so many impactful lessons with our audience. So when you first introduce yourself to audiences for the first time, where do you start with your story, Tom?
Well, I start by saying I'm honored to be here in your presence and I mean in your presence, because I am a cancer, as I call myself, a cancer conqueror.
Yeah.
And it's just, again, it's that really gets people's attention when I talk about that, and I just kind of go from there. I was diagnosed with prostate cancer on my birthday in 2015. I heard the three words you never want to hear, especially on your birthday, that you have cancer. And I had just witnessed my best friend just a few months prior lose his life to the same thing. So this time, 4.5 years ago, in February of 15, it was in a pretty dark place, and it almost overwhelmed me. Just getting that news.
Wow. So I guess when you first hear the diagnosis, obviously it was a shock to you. Like, what was going through your head? What were the emotions that you were experiencing?
It was a wide range of emotions. I was scared. I was very very anxious, especially having just witnessed my best friend lose his life, and witnessing his 4-year battle was just absolutely gut-wrenching to watch that. And I thought, well, maybe my number is up, and I was almost ready to give up. At the time when I heard that, I had what I would call a fixed mindset, that it was just bad genes and woe is me, and I just felt sorry for myself. Other emotions I felt was I was embarrassed, I was ashamed, almost felt like I was a fraud, because people had always viewed me as being Mr. Fit and Mr. Healthy, and then to get hit with this, it was again just so many emotions.
So what was that next step? You have the diagnosis, you've achieved these results today. How did you get to the path of developing this winning mindset, would you say?
Well, one of the problems, and this was a lesson learned for me, is I kept it all inside, and that, again, I can talk about that later. But some lessons learned from my journey. But I took my journey alone, basically, and that's not the way to approach a diagnosis like this. We all have challenges in life, and some can be overwhelming. And I'm here to state that a cancer diagnosis is at the top of my list of being overwhelming. But I didn't tell anybody other than immediate family and a few close friends. And one of my friends, who I did confide in, said, Tom, you have been an Ironman all your life, and the motto of the Ironman is anything is possible. He said you need to embrace that motto, and by doing so, you need to set goals to get beyond these obstacles that you're being faced with right now. And that was really really almost a turning point for me in turning my mindset around from a fixed mindset to what I call a growth or winning mindset. And that was really the turning point for me, as far as again getting my arms wrapped around this and moving forward. Because initially I was almost ready to give up.
Yeah.
And
what would you say were some of the first actions that you did, perhaps habits that you put in place to start really building this mindset?
Well, the mindset that it takes to do an Ironman very similar or parallel to what it takes to overcoming a diagnosis like this. And just for your information, an Ironman is a 2.4 mile swim followed by a 112 mile bike ride followed by a 26.2 marathon, all in one day. And the mindset that it takes to get to that finish line of a race like that very much parallel, when you have any kind of challenge in your life.
Yeah.
And that's what I leveraged when I did turn my mindset around from that fixed to a winning mindset. One of the first things I did was I set goals for myself.
Mm-hmm.
I had a short-term goal, intermediate goal, and a long-term goal. Actually, 2 long-term goals. And my long-term goal was to be able to do an Ironman again, and also at the same time I wanted to be around to walk my daughter down the aisle.
Yeah.
And so it was, my long-term goals were very significant to me, and I went from getting around in the hospital in a walker and wearing several catheters to crossing the finish line of arguably the toughest athletic endurance test in the world, and I achieved that.
So when I was reading, a few chapters in your book, you talk about the importance of having a vision. You started with Stephen Covey's quote, "Beginning with the end in mind." So I'm curious, how do you go about, for those who may feel lost, how do you go about crafting a vision that excites you?
The primary attributes of a winning mindset
Mm-hmm.
are perseverance, overcoming fear, and being intentional. And when you put those 3 components together, that really helped me put some focus on where I was going. Again,
Mm-hmm.
you have to have those goals, but all 3 of those components, though, are really key to me when it comes to having that winning mindset. The components of a winning mindset for me were being intentional, specifically with your lifestyle,
Mm-hmm.
perseverance, and overcoming fear.
Yeah.
Perseverance is a tool to keep the mind focused despite the circumstances that are right in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
And perseverance is knowing that you have a goal out there, but you may not see it today, but being able to persevere. Perseverance is something that a lot of people want to have,
Yeah.
but in any aspect of your life, but it's hard to attain. But you've got to be able to persevere to get to that, your goal. As far as overcoming fear, you need to recognize the fear, but you can't. You need to recognize it, but then move on. You can't let it paralyze you.
Mm-hmm.
Initially, I was, like I said, I was very scared when I got the diagnosis, but I was able to really overcome that fear. And as far as being intentional, being intentional for me after my cancer was actually very. It was much easier because I wanted to be intentional because I had a goal of crossing the finish line of the Ironman.
Mm-hmm.
But then secondly, I had a calling greater than my own self, because I was helping impact other people's lives and make a positive impact on humankind.
You actually did how many Ironmans after the diagnosis?
2.
You did 2. And I think something that you mentioned a lot that holds so many people back, and certainly myself as well, is fear. And I know it's easy to sort of say that, but to do it is something completely different. So when you experience fear, Tom, how do you process that? How do you get to the place of recognizing it and then taking action?
You have to recognize it,
Mm-hmm.
and then you are going to have negative chatter that is playing in your mind,
Yeah.
and you have to stop and really redirect that negative chatter to thinking what the end game or the goal is for yourself.
So if you were addressing our audience into step one of developing a winning mindset? Like, where do you start with it?
Really identify what's important to you, and thinking about what those long-term goals were. In my case, it was twofold. One was to be able to do another Ironman, and then two was to be around to walk my daughter down the aisle. Both those are very critical to me, and those were that was my vision out there, and that's what I wanted to achieve.
So it sounded like it first starts with kind of really developing like an exciting vision, having sort of a meaning and a purpose, right? So tell us a little bit about like your meaning and your purpose now. What drives you today?
Well, my purpose today is bottom line is I want to help find a cure for cancer.
Yeah.
I also want to create awareness, especially for men, when it comes to their health. You need to be proactive with your health. And part of the issue, and I'm a perfect example of it, men don't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
Something like prostate cancer is very personal, and it's also very misunderstood. But picture this though, according to the American Cancer Society, 1 in 9 Caucasian and Hispanic men will get prostate cancer in their life. It's actually 1 in 6 for African American. And to put those numbers in perspective, 1 in 8 women will be diagnosed with breast cancer in her lifetime. And of course we know everybody knows the numbers and the visibility that breast cancer has, and I'm trying to create awareness for the men's cancer, if you will. But cancer crosses all lines. I'm not just focused on prostate cancer. I'm focused on all cancers, and a lot of the research being done in prostate cancer touches other adult and childhood cancers. And again, I'm trying to make a difference. And but my journey has really created a passion in me to help others that are fighting cancer and those close to cancer victims. And so today I'm, again, a huge advocate, do a lot of advocacy work on Capitol Hill, and I'm also a mentor for newly diagnosed cancer patients, and because it's a lonely journey. And as I mentioned earlier, I had several lessons learned through my journey, and one of them is not to take your cancer journey alone. You need to have a support system around you. The other one is cancer is not something to be experienced in isolation, because it can quickly take you down, as it almost did me.
So what are your steps in taking that vision, right, into reality? One of the quotes that I read in the book was great, was everything is created twice. Once in your mind and in the physical world.
Yes.
So we've talked about the first step, which was having that vision. How do you bring it into real life?
Well, you've got to stay focused, and you've got to keep reminding yourself of that vision or that goal that you have out there. You and I spoke earlier about part of having an intentional being intentional is having a healthy lifestyle. And one of my favorite quotes, and I have it in my book, is, in a world that profits from chronic disease, taking care of your body is a rebellious act. And in our society, a healthy lifestyle requires commitment and dedication, if you will. And but I think that one quote speaks volumes as to where we are in society.
Well, Tom, tell us about the book, The Winning Mindset That Saved My Life. Tell us about the book and what readers can get from it.
Okay. First of all, I may back up just like how this all came about, because I'm really an accidental author, if you will. I never had any intention of writing a book. But about a year after my diagnosis, with my wife's encouragement, she said, "Why don't you write a blog? And if it impacts about my experiences, and if it impacts one person in this world, just think how that would make you feel." Well, the first response back I got was from a gentleman in New Zealand. I had given him hope and inspiration. And then the more responses kept coming in, and it wasn't just from cancer patients, just from other people that had challenges in their life. But I had positively impacted it, so I wrote more blogs, and a lot of people had read my blog, said, "You ought to write a story. Your book is so inspirational." Or your story's so inspirational, and that's writing a blog is one thing, but writing a book is a whole nother level. But after a lot of soul searching and talking about it with my wife, I said, all right, I'll give this a shot. But the book is very much grassroots. I'm self-published. I don't have an agent. That picture on the cover of the book was taken on a whim with my wife's.
That's a great picture.
Thank you.
Yeah.
that was taken on a whim with my wife's cell phone camera in Kona, Hawaii, just prior to the Ironman, and so the book was really the genesis of the book, and all the promotion of the book is done via social media. But best of all, proceeds from the book, 100% of the net proceeds from the book are going back to cancer research.
Awesome.
It's not for personal gain. So my definition of success for the book was, if I impact one person's life, then I've made a difference, and that's really what's important to me. But from the reviews I've been getting on Amazon and other comments, it far exceeded that, and that's again my definition of success. So
love it, and I appreciate that, Tom. So Tom, tell us, how do we check out the book? How do we connect with you? How do we follow you and support you?
I appreciate you asking.
Yeah.
The book is you can either go through my website, which is tomhulsey.com, or you can go to Amazon and just go either the title of the book or my last name, and it'll be out there on Amazon. I encourage people to go to Amazon because you can see the reviews and the impact it's had on people. And like I said, my goal is to positively impact people's lives and really create awareness and find a cure for cancer.
Awesome. Well, Tom, this has been amazing. I'm truly honored by having you on the podcast. We'll make sure to have all of your contact information, links to the book, everything in the show notes. This has been amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Julian. Very much appreciated. Yeah.
And everyone else, thank you all for tuning in to another episode of The Pathways to Success. As always, make sure to subscribe, comment, and share. And we'll see you next time on the next episode of The Pathways to Success.